Strong thunderstorms continue to move through the northern tier states, specifically from the upper Midwest right on into the Great Lakes region. And we'll continue to watch for maybe some activity as far as severe weather is concerned. Boy, we've certainly seen a lot of that on Wednesday, and we'll be updating this map because we continue to see the potential for severe weather. Lots of wind reports that were up and over 60 miles per hour. In fact, with the latest wave of thunderstorms that have moved through the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, we had reports in and around Eden Prairie, just southwest of Minneapolis, of up to 80 mile per hour winds. That'll do some damage, and unfortunately that's what we're seeing, specifically moving through much of Minnesota and on into Wisconsin. And that's going to be the trend as we go on into the overnight. These same areas under the gun. Some of you have already seen 1 and 2 rounds of thunderstorms moving through, and it's not necessarily over for your area. So the red area indicating where severe thunderstorms are still a possibility going into the overnight. Strong storms, areas in orange. Keep that in mind. All right, let's zoom in a little bit closer. There you can see in and around Kansas City, maybe some stronger thunderstorms for you. And extending out maybe around the Buffalo area on up toward Rochester and Watertown could find some thunderstorms with some gusty winds. Let's take you through your travel weather now, and heading into the southeast, the one area that's looking at some significant moisture is here into Florida. Now we really could use the rain going on into maybe the Orlando area and on up toward Jacksonville. So we're watching for some significant rains here, but as we go into the late morning on Thursday, it's really going to be more the central and southern parts of the state to see the potential for some rainfall. Rest of the southeast, pretty easy commuting weather, at least as far as the weather is concerned. Can't promise what the traffic's going to be like. Into upstate New York, again, you've got some thunderstorms sliding south and eastward, so we've put a little green on the map here to show you where you might find some wet roadways, maybe from Watertown back down Interstate 81 through Syracuse, toward maybe around Shenango and Norwich and back down toward the Binghamton area. And then some of these thunderstorms in the upper Midwest have been very big rain producers, as that the wind and the hail and the tornadoes haven't been enough here on Wednesday. Heavy rain at a rate of 2 inches an hour with some of those thunderstorms. So again, if you're in a situation where you see water covering the roadway, do not attempt to cross it. You definitely want to find an alternate route. Going out to the west, again, some snowy travel. This is primarily above 5,000 feet, where you're going to find maybe 2 to 4 inches of brand new snow cover. Not what you want to hear here if you're going to be hiking or maybe just vacationing or camping in that region. It's been a real wet and cool spring, and now early summer starting out the same way into the Pacific Northwest. So that's a look at the nation as a whole. We've got a lot of tropical moisture here. We're going to be talking more about that 50 minutes past the hour when we talk about our storm watch, and we'll be encompassing the tropics as well. A lot of tropical moisture here. We'll tell you more about what that might do. And the thunderstorms that continue across the upper Midwest. Let's get into a little more detail on Thursday. I showed you the map that showed you all the red here across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. Those are the areas where we think we might find some strong to severe thunderstorms overnight. Well, guess what? The jet stream's still cutting through this region. We're still dealing with our front, and we're still going to have at least the potential for some severe weather heading into the Great Lakes region and the upper Midwest. So keep an eye out for that. There's our little trough out there into the western Gulf of Mexico. Few areas of green painted on the map for scattered showers and thunderstorms. Thursday's highs, by the way, going to be pretty warm for you. Are you ready for this? As far north as New York City, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, even closing in on Minneapolis, you're going to find the potential for 90-degree temperatures. Look at the 100s back down toward Valdosta, and the 100s spreading all the way up into the Central Plains states. Another hot and humid day, and I wanted to show you what the heat index looks like. Dangerous here. The heat indices could be anywhere from 105 to 115. That's what it may feel like when you combine the heat and humidity up around Kansas City and St. Louis. Also into Nashville, Memphis, Atlanta, and even stretching up toward the Richmond area. Folks, take it easy out there, okay? Don't overexert yourself. Drink plenty of water and seek the shade. Just use a little bit of common sense. With that said, let's take a look at your Travel Cities forecast.
Jobs of tomorrow are here, thousands of them, waiting to be filled. But you have to know the fields they're in, and you have to have what it takes to master those fields. Because you can't get the jobs of tomorrow until you get the skills of today.
Start by calling ITT Technical Institute for an informative brochure. Call 1-800-338-4713. 1-800-338-4713. Call now.
I wanted a drafting career where I could draw more than just a good salary. Computers are the future of drafting, and I'm part of it.
Good morning, everyone. It is half past the hour. It's Thursday morning, the 25th of June, and we thank you for joining us. I'm Bruce Edwards. This is Vivian Brown. And there are a lot of nervous cows in Wisconsin this morning. The milk production may be a little off today because there's some thunderstorms rumbling there through the dairy country, and Some of those producing wind gusts 60 miles an hour or so and damage this morning.
That's right. We've had reports of dime-sized hail with some of the storms too. Severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued across the area and a severe thunderstorm watch. Let's show it all to you as we look at the national perspective, our water vapor loop, which clearly shows the system as it blows up across the upper Midwest this morning. Rightfully so, those storms have been so potent this morning from Minnesota into Wisconsin and even crossing over Lake Michigan into the lower peninsula of Michigan. So most of the action has been right here so far this morning. A look at our national radar, which shows the storms, a line right here of very heavy rain over north central Minnesota into northern Wisconsin and again the lower peninsula of Michigan. We've had a line of thunderstorms stretching southward too across east central Kansas, and we're noticing some showers over the northern Rockies, the Pacific Northwest around Stampede Pass, Quileute, Washington. We've had light rain even near Brookings, Oregon, and we're starting to see moisture still develop here off the coast of Florida. Tampa reporting some rain. Hopefully we can get a good dosing over central and southern Florida today, even as far north as southern Georgia, where we really need it. We've noticed some thunderstorms here moving across Lake Ontario. Special marine advisories have been issued for this cluster as it moves into the upstate New York area. Let's zoom in on some local radars. This one out of Topeka, Kansas, which shows the wet weather right along Interstate 70, mainly east of Russell, pushing into the Kansas City vicinity. Lincoln, Nebraska, Omaha, very heavy rain, moderately heavy anyway, along Interstate 80 as you travel from eastern Nebraska into the western parts of Iowa. So getting an early start this morning. Prepare. Roads will be a little wet here, and all of this is approaching Interstate 35 too. So within the next couple of hours, perhaps some heavier rain moving into the I-35 corridor. A little farther north though, and we notice these storms, they've been really pushing off quickly toward the east, northeast at about 40 miles an hour actually. They've cleared out of the Minneapolis area. We have had reports though of damage from these storms in Minneapolis because winds in excess of 60 miles an hour and dime-sized hail have been reported with these storms as they move through. We still have some moderately heavy rain around Duluth, Minnesota, and draping back here near the eastern parts of South Dakota and even near Fargo, North Dakota. All of this is quickly wisping off to the north and east though, you notice. And we've had some heavier rain skirt across northern Lake Michigan. Still special marine advisories in effect here. So mariners beware, getting an early start this morning across northern Lake Michigan. Very dangerous. Dangerous lightning too associated with these storms. Just south of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and heading for Green Bay here as these storms are moving off toward the east. Lincoln, Marathon, Wood, and Portage counties under severe thunderstorm warnings this morning. You can anticipate hailstones as well as very gusty winds to accompany these storms. Deadly, dangerous lightning too. The Storms Prediction Center has issued this severe thunderstorm watch, effective for the rest of the morning hours for the most part across north central Wisconsin this morning. Now, even though the severe thunderstorm watch is effective just for the morning hours, even as we go through the afternoon, we're still under the gun. Atmospheric conditions are favorable for more thunderstorms to refire across the central Great Lakes, and eventually some of this could push into eastern New York State and northern New England. So we'll watch the area for you as we go through the afternoon, and also here over the northern Rockies and the western High Plains, surface cold front pushing through the area. Now, thunderstorms are possible along the Gulf Coast. None severe, we don't think, but hopefully the stronger storms can produce some heavier downpours to at least give us some soil moisture across southern Georgia, Florida, and much of the southeast actually pretty parched this morning. We do have fog. That's the main problem along the New England coast this morning. Visibilities have been reduced to less than 1/2 of a mile, but a pretty decent day is shaping up for the big cities along the coast today. It will be warm though. We're expecting 90s around Washington, D.C., a current temperature of 74. Mid-70s over most of the southeast, and of course it is here. We had the record heat yesterday, so another top story as you look at the weather pattern, and that's the heat advisories that remain in effect for the southeast, the lower Mississippi Valley, even into the plains. We are watching now the moisture increasing here, the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and hopefully we can get enough to, again, alleviate or at least ameliorate some of the drought problems we've had over the southeast and the Gulf Coast. So here's the big picture the way it stands right now. Let's get a look at the forecast now with Bruce.
All righty, let's look at the satellite picture. Why? Because we've got a Category 4 hurricane here, Hurricane Blas, but it's the nice kind of hurricane, one we can watch, one we can marvel at, but one is not threatening the continental U.S. A complete update coming your way in about 15 minutes, at 10 minutes before the hour with our storm update. Here's your forecast weather map. Most of the unsettled weather action is going to be here into the Great Lakes, and eventually by later this afternoon and tonight, some of those strong to severe storms filter across the lakes, across Lake Ontario, in the upstate of New York. There is a special marine warning out right now for the waters of Lake Ontario. Otherwise, splash and dash thunderstorms will ring parts of the Gulf Coast in Florida. We will see some thunderstorms possible across the northern Rockies with even some snow in the Cascades. But the big word today is going to be heat, and there's going to be a lot of that today. We're talking 87 in New York today, 91 in Philly, 92 in D.C., 91 in Pittsburgh, 92 for Detroit, but the threat for some strong to severe storms strafing the Great Lakes. Hot stuff in the south, 95 for Atlanta, should hit 100 in Dallas. Heat indices dangerously high once again. And look at the heartland, 95 Louisville and St. Louis, 94 for Chicago, with those strong to severe storms in the Central Lakes. The west could see some strong storms into Idaho, but comfortable in L.A. with 75.
Okay, thanks for joining us for Weather Center. Travel-Wise is next.
Hey, what's this stuff? I'm not going there! This crummy stuff isn't gonna come with me! No way!
At your Sherwin-Williams store, you'll get the good stuff at great prices during Sure-Win Days. Now save 30% on all paints and stains. Save 30% on in-stock wallpaper, brushes, rollers, ladders, and more.
Oh, yeah. Now that's the good stuff.
When only the best will do. Ask Sherwin-Williams.
When your allergies are a nightmare, you need fast relief. You need the power of Zyrtec. Prescription Zyrtec starts working fast and lasts 24 hours. So when allergies are a nightmare, remember the power of Zyrtec. In studies, drowsiness was the most common side effect. Other side effects included fatigue.
10 minutes before the hour. Thanks for joining us on the Weather Channel. You've tuned in just in time for a storm watch. We've been watching severe storms early this Thursday morning across the upper Midwest. That's the area that's been targeted the last couple of days with severe storms. A severe thunderstorm watch has been issued for parts of Wisconsin. We'll show that to you in a moment. Of course, we've been talking about the tropics, too. We have the latest on Hurricane Blas. With winds of 140 miles an hour, Blas is centered at 15.5 degrees north, 107.3 degrees west. That makes it about 500 miles southwest of Acapulco, Mexico. Blas is moving west-northwest at 12 miles an hour, and the lowest barometric pressure, 945 millibars. Now, we are expecting Blas to continue in this general direction over the next 24 hours, and that means it will continue to slowly push away from the Mexican coast. We still anticipate some high seas and swells along the coast, up to about 20 feet or so as we go through the day. But of course, the swells and seas will start to weaken as the storm moves away, as you'll have less of an influence from this storm the farther away it gets. Now, we have identified a pretty discernible eye here. You can clearly see it right here, the center of the overcast dense clouds here. So that's why it is a very well-organized hurricane. But it is expected to weaken, and the good news is that it is moving away from Mexico. As a matter of fact, it's at its closest point right now to the coast of Mexico, as it will be before it starts to weaken and move away. Let's get a close closer and a different vantage point of our hurricane here. We've colored enhanced the cloud tops that are coldest and highest in the atmosphere. And of course, that is around the main center. And there's the eye right here. Actually, it's not in the center of our dense overcast clouds. It's more, we have more convection on the south side of the center. So it's not as organized as it could be, but still a fairly organized hurricane here. And you can see that it's all swelling or wrapping around, quite a bit of convection with it. Now, we have been watching another area. This is a mesoscale convective complex, which means just a large area of thunderstorm activity, not necessarily a tropical system, but a lot of very, very heavy rains falling from this over the open waters in the eastern Pacific. But this is an organized tropical system, as this is Hurricane Blas. Again, it is moving away and is expected to weaken over the next 24 hours. But the main influence today will be the higher seas, the higher swells. Surfing and along the beach areas today will be a little more dangerous, as riptides are possible too, of course, as you get the swells expanding or propagating from the center of our hurricane. Now, on the eastern side of Mexico, this is the other side, of course, Cozumel here, and we've been watching a tropical wave. Now, this tropical wave has been responsible for a lot of unsettled weather over the western Caribbean. We've had some thunderstorm activity near Cozumel and near the Cayman Islands in western Cuba. And we've even had some moisture pushed as far north as the Tampa Bay region. Now, this system is not necessarily expected to become a tropical depression or a tropical storm or anything, but some good news from this system is that we could get some beneficial rains over Florida and southern Georgia, where we desperately need it. Actually, some of this moisture could go into the central Gulf of Mexico, enhancing the chance of thunderstorm activity later today around New Orleans. So we'll continue to watch this large area of disturbed weather for you. And again, we have identified a tropical wave here near Cozumel, Mexico, just off of the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, this region is of most concern because as we look at climatology or the history of the tropics, and we've noticed that this area, the Western Caribbean, the southern Gulf of Mexico, and the Bay of Campeche are all areas that are favored for tropical development throughout the month of June. And of course,